Ka unu hia au ko tohu ko te pū. Ka mau ko tohu ko te hono. I kona koe mihi mai ai. Whiti ara, whiti ora. Rānei te rangi e tū nei, te papa e tau nei. Tūruke, tūruke, pāneke, pāneke. Hara mai te toki. Aumi e, hui e. Kai ki e. E ka tike e mihi tuatahi nei ki tō mātou nei kai whakaora. Koina. Anōna nei te timatanga me te whakaotinga o ngā mea katoa. Tēnei wā anō hoki I huri hea na a mātou whakaro ki e rā I hinga atu I hinga mai. Hinga mati o te tau o te mārama o te wiki o te rānei anō hoki koutou haere atu. Haere ki te wāo nui a tāni ki te hui huinga o te tini me te mano. Nō reira, haere moi mai rā oki oki. Nō reira, kāti rā. Apa te hono tātou, hono ki waiho tia rātou, ki a rātou ka hoki anō a tātou, ki a tātou, I ngā kānohi ora, e tatu mai nei tātou I tēnei wā a tihai mauri ora. E tū whakaiti tēnei, I runga I te iwi whānau whānui a waitaha kāti māmoi kai tahu. O muri hiku, I tuku nā mihi atu rāki o koutou, I hui huingia mai nei I tēnei rangi. Nō reira, he honori me he whakapaingia ke anō hoki māku e tuku nā mihi atu rāki o koutou. Nō reira, ki te whare e tuhake nei, karanga mai rā, karanga mai. I papatua nuku I waho nei, e te matua o te tangata a tēnā koe e te whaia. Nō reira, e mihi anō hoki ki te manga, e mātou nei manga tapu a tāki timu. Kei mauri rā. Nō reira, tūtonu mai, tūtonu mai, tūtonu mai. Nō reira, I tēnei rā, he rā whakahira mō tātou. I whakamohio ana tētahi ki tētahi, kōwai. E nā kai kauni hera hau e noho ana, nei rā mātou mihi atu ki a koutou. E te toko rima, te toko rima hou I tai mai, I tīmata nei tēnei rā, nei te mihi kau ana ki a koutou katoa. Nō reira e te tī, e te tā. I ngā iwi, I ngā mana, I ngā reo, nā waka o nā tai e whā. Nei te mihi kau ana ki a koutou katoa I tēnei rā. Nō reira tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou kari e tōro te mihi nei, nō reira he mihi nui tonu ki a koutou katoa. Huri no te whare nei, nō reira tēnā koutou. So I'd just like to say on behalf of the iwi whānau o Muri Huku, sorry Dean's not here today, I'll try to be a bit like him, but but just pleased to come here and support and be part of the day, and just to thank everybody here again from behalf of Ngāi Tahu or Muri Huku folks that are all gathered here today, and looking forward to seeing the rest of the afternoon progressing forward. So just once again, many thanks, and yeah, thanks very much. Who's going to sing us the song? There she is. Tūtira mai iwi, tātou tātou e,
i a patahira, tātou tātou e hope, tātou tātou e.
Wairinga nui ngā rahi, koutou. I te mana wahine e noho ana, nei te mihi kau ana ki a koutou katoa. E rauranga tira mā, anei anō hoki mātou mihi. Ko reira, tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou.
Nā mai, haere mai, tauti mai. Welcome to the 12th inaugural meeting of Environment Southland, the Southland Regional Council. Ngā mihi, mai kahu ki Murihiku, mana whenua. Thank you for your warm welcome this afternoon. Ngā mihi councillors, your families and supporters, members of the public and the media and council staff. Ko hure te tai, a pari mai, ai ki te whakarangatira i te kaunera hau. Nau reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora. Ngā mihi o te rā. Before we start, I need to attend to a couple of issues of housekeeping. So the fire alarm, should it ring, will be continuous ringing of bells. If it sounds, please exit the building in a calm and orderly manner. There are 2 exits from the chamber, both are signposted. There is the way you came in, which is out through the door behind you and through reception front doors. There's also an exit here, a side door out into the car park. Please assemble in the car park if that should occur. And of course, in an earthquake, remember to drop, cover and hold in place. So those are the 2 matters of housekeeping that I need to bring to your attention. Let's move on to the meeting protocol. Although this is an inaugural meeting, it has a slightly different format to our regular council meetings. However, this is a council meeting and members of the public are of course welcome to be at council meetings. And for those of you who are new to such matters, council meetings operate according to standing orders, which clearly lay out the processes for all aspects of the meeting. So I will be sticking to the standing orders and to ensure fair and democratic process is followed and that the meeting runs smoothly. It's important for those who are in the room, members of the public and councillors and representatives alike, that oh, you've got a glass of water. Sorry. No, that's all right. Please, you've got one. There are no opportunities for members of the public to speak at this council meeting or to contribute to discussions. And just for everyone, the standing orders are that no one interrupt speakers by commenting or interjecting or making any disruptions. So on to the meeting itself. So the Local Government Act 2002 provides that the Chief Executive will chair this inaugural meeting until the chairperson is elected and has made and attested the declaration. So I now move to the agenda and call for any apologies. No apologies, do we? No. So there being none, we'll move to the next item on the agenda. Now, in a moment, I'm going to ask the councillors to come forward in alphabetical order by family name. You're actually all seated in alphabetical order by family name, by the way, to make your declaration to the meeting, just to make that easier for you. The declaration for mana whenua representatives needs to be at the point in the meeting where their respective committees are formed. So right now those committees are not formed. So we will take the councillors' declarations and move to that later on the agenda, which is item 9. So copies of the declaration are provided in both English and Te Reo Māori, and it's entirely your choice as to which you choose to read, or both. And you can sign the declaration and then return to your seat. So now to the declarations. There's no requirement to make a declaration on the Bible, but if you wish to do so, there is a Bible here at the table for you, and you can hold that if you want to while you make your declaration. So I'm going to call forward in alphabetical order, you to read your declaration out loud, and then we'll sign the declaration. That's what is going to happen at this point. Right, so Councillor Neville Cook. So you can take whichever one you like.
I, Neville McRae Cook, do declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Southern Region the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Southern Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, Local Government Official Information Meetings Act 1987 or any other act.
Both sides. Sorry about that. Councillor Paul Evans. I apologise.
I, Paul Evans, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Southern Region the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Southern Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, and or any other act.
And Councillor Alistair Gibson.
I, Alistair Gibson, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Southern Region the powers, authority, the duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Southern Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act. Thank you. I do my thing.
You do your thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Robert Guy.
Kia ora te whānau. Ko au tēnei ko Robert Guy. E whakapua ki atu nei take oati e roto i te pono me te tika e ai ki oku pūkenga me oku whakaro, kia whakatutukengia, kia hāpaitia hoki, hei painga mo te rohi o Southland. Ngā mana kaunihera me ngā mahi kei roto tonu, ka utaina rānei ki runga i au e tu nei he mema o te kaunihera a rohi o Southland, i raro i te maru o te ture ka wanatanga a rohi 2002, me te ture ka wanatanga a rohi mō te pārongo o kawa me ngā hui 1987, i raro tānei i te tahi atu ture. Nō reira, aha ko he tangata whai take wātaka he kaunihera au.
Choose gesticulation. Councillor Nicole.
I, Nicol George Harrell, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Southland region the powers, authorities and duties invested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Southland Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act.
Councillor Linda Ludlow.
I, Linda Ruth Ludlow, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Southland region the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Southland Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act.
And Councillor Peter MacDonald.
I, Peter Gordon MacDonald, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Southland region the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Southland Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act.
Councillor Jeremy.
I, Jeremy Adams McLeod, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Southern region the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of Southern Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act.
Councillor Phil Morrison.
I, Philip John Morrison, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Southern region the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Southern Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act.
And Councillor John Pemberton.
The declaration, so
I, Jonathan Rodney Pemberton, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, in accordance to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Southern region the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Southern Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act.
Thank you. I will sign that as you and Councillor Morris Rodway. Are you ready to read? Okay, that's fine. If it is a sign that you can read that.
Ko ao tēnei ko Morris Allen Rodway. E whakapuaki atu nei I tātu o ati I roto e te tono me te tika e ai ki oku puna me oku whakaro. Kia whakatutu kinga, kia whapaitia hoki e mana mo ki rohi o mera heki. Mana kaunihira me ngā mahi ki roto tono ka utaina ranei ki runga e a ao I tu mehi nema o te kauhinera a rohi o mera heki. I raro I te maru o te ture kawanatanga e rohi 2002, ni te ture kawanatanga e rohi mo te parongo o kawa, ni ngā hui 1987. I raro rane I te tahi atu ture.
And finally, Councillor.
Alphabetically challenged.
I, Eric Wilbur Roy, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Southern region the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Southern Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meeting Act of 1987 or any other act.
Thank you. So thank you, councillors, and congratulations. All now declared and at the council table. So moving on now to the next part of the meeting. Before I call for the election of the chairperson, I'd like us to turn to item 4 on the agenda, which is the procedure at an inaugural meeting, which is on page 3 of your agenda papers. So this item outlines the processes that we're currently working through. And before I call for nominations, there are 2 important matters concerning voting at meetings of the local authority that I need to explain. The first is a requirement that every question coming before a local authority shall be decided by open voting. Now, open voting at a council meeting can be a vote by voice and by hand, but for the avoidance of doubt at this meeting, I ask that all voting be a show of hands. The second matter concerns the system of voting. Clause 25 of Schedule 7 of the Local Government Act 2002 sets out the voting systems that apply to the appointments and elections that are to be made at today's meeting. Now, that clause applies in this instance, and the council must resolve that a person be elected or nominated using one of 2 voting systems. So voting system A, that requires a person elected to get the majority of votes of the members present and voting and provides for successive rounds of voting in which the candidate with the lowest numbers of votes is excluded until that is achieved. Or voting system B, that requires the person elected to receive more votes than any other candidate. So are there any questions about the 2 votes? 2 types of voting.
We need to resolve which one.
We do. So if there are no questions, the form of motion that is required, which is on page 4 of your agenda. So please note the recommendation, of course, contains both alternatives, and I need one to be selected to go forward as a notice of motion. So could I please have someone move the adoption of one of the systems of voting to be used in the elections and appointments made at this meeting? So I need to be clear, this will apply to all votes, not just for the election of the chairperson.
I'll move system A.
System A, is there a seconder?
I will second that. That's been our custom.
So system A is a round robin voting system, not first past the post, just to be clear. System A requires the person elected to get a majority of votes of the members present, and voting provides for successive rounds of voting. So that's, you're clear about that, okay? So got a seconder, is there discussion?
Point of information, Madam Chair, we have in the past actually voted for B, which was the majority. Either will work, but I otherwise I'm more comfortable with B. But I guess we have to vote on the first motion now before we.
Yep. So is there any other discussion to this motion before we vote? The chair is correct that in the past you have voted for voting system B. So yes, Councillor Ludlow.
Thank you. Yeah, I would have to agree with Councillor Horrell that that would be my preference for TP. So that's the way we in the past, but that doesn't mean that what happens in the past has to stay in the future.
I'm happy to move an amendment. I think it's probably legal.
Just having a side conversation about that. Yeah, thank you. So I think we need some discussion on that matter, as the mover needs to perhaps respond to that. Councillor Cook. I need a seconder to Nicole's proposal to amend. Councillor McPhail. Some discussion, please. Councillor McPhail. Oh, no, sorry, Councillor McDonald, what am I saying? I saw the hand going up in that corner. I need better glasses, I think, Councillor, that's not good.
I just want to clear that up. Does this option that we're voting on contain the facility for a third person to be involved in any voting process? Usually it's one of two, isn't it?
So voting
So
system
just
B,
something we
doesn't
are-
matter how many of you are standing for any post, it is the majority wins. So it's not a round robin where the minority drops out and you continue till you've got a majority. That's voting system A.
Okay, so as long as everyone understands.
Councillor Hudson.
Sorry, can I just have another contribution? Absolutely doesn't, system B doesn't exclude anybody from any, doesn't restrict the number of
No.
items or people that are involved in the vote. It's simply about whether the first past the post system applies or not.
Yes.
I second the motion A, Chair, and it's my view, and I've made these statements here before at AGMs, that we need mandate, which comes to a majority. And if we have a number of people standing, someone who may not officially be the majority by using section B might get in with what is less than a minority of the votes cast. And so I'm a mandate person and continue to support option A.
So we have two motions. So we need to vote on the amendment first. So if there's no more discussion, the amendment, do you want to just read the amendment?
The amendment is the method of voting for the election of officers and appointments be system B, requiring the person elected to receive more votes than any other candidate. In the event of a tie in any round of voting, the matter will be resolved by lot.
Look, now that's been clarified, I'm happy to withdraw that. I think there's a little bit of confusion because I think everybody's actually saying that someone needs a mandate. If that's system B, I'm happy to withdraw it.
Test it with a vote.
So we'll test it with a vote.
Okay.
No, we've got a live motion on the table, councillor, that you have put on the table. We need an amendment. We need to vote on your amendment at this point. So the amendment was
System B.
System B. Okay, so can I have a show of hands for those who say aye to system B? And can I show of hands for no's? Thank you. So that has been lost, so we can go back to the first motion on the table, which was for system A. Is there any further discussion before I take show of hands? No. Thank you. So all those in favour of voting system A, show of hands, please. Thank you, that's carried. Now I'm going to call for nominations for the position of chairperson. And I have so I'm looking for nominations. Is that correct? Yes. Mover.
I will nominate Councillor Nicol Horrell for a term as chair of this council. We've had 6 years of leadership from Nicol. We've had a cohesive council. He's promoted free discussion. He's a good listener. He's been patient and inclusive. He's represented the council well at the Mayoral Forum and other outside areas. We're facing challenging times, and I think that he's the right person to lead the council through for the next 3 years.
Thank you, Councillor Rodway. Can I have further nominations, please? So if there are no further nominations, I declare the nominations closed. So, councillors with one nomination, the option for speaking is still on the table, and I would like to ask Councillor Horrell if you would like to speak.
Thank you for the nomination and the continuing support that council has offered me. It's been an honour and will continue to be an honour and a privilege to lead this council. And I must say, this will be my last term as chair. I think it will be the time to bring in some new faces next time. So I guess the way I will vote today is very much about legacy. It's about succession planning and continuity. And at this stage, I'd really like to thank my wife, Anne, who has allowed me to do these roles. Any of these roles, there is a family sacrifice, and without her support, I could not continue to do this. And as she knows, I don't do things by half. It's 100% commitment. So while I'm signalling this will be my last term, I will be 100% until the last day. Next 3 years will be both challenging and demanding, but there are some real opportunities. In water quality, we are required to put a plan change in place during this term. But it's really about taking our entire community on a journey. We don't take a community on a journey, rules don't actually get you there. And I've been fortunate that we really started on this journey about 9 years ago. And I actually believe we've already made quite a bit of progress where if first plan change, water land plan is still languishing in the environment courts, but things have moved, attitudes have changed, and I look forward to working with you all as we move forward. And in some ways, if you're not there at the start of the journey, it's actually quite hard to plot the destination. And I think we have a number of people in the room who have been on that journey for some time, and there will be milestones on that journey. And over the next few years, we will actually set out the milestones for the first 10 years. And I guess I'm always mindful of the iwi saying, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. It is the people, it is the people, it is the people. Climate change will continue to be a significant issue for us this term, and as most of you know, on the agenda, there is a climate change committee, and we are responsible for adaptation and mitigation. And with the changing climate, it'll be factored into just about everything we do. And next, the third one that's on my mind at the moment is forestry, carbon farming in particular. A Southland solution is required. We do want the right tree in the right place. And I'd love to see incentivising native plantings in our riparian areas, in our gullies. I mean, a lot of this job is about legacy. We are looking 30 years out a lot of the time. The Miral Forum will be quite important this time. There's just been a refresh of the Southland Development Strategy, and one of the things that was probably missed first time was housing. I believe this area has potential for exciting new employment opportunities, but we have to have housing for people. And lobbying government with a united voice. If Southland speaks with a united voice, we are quite powerful and we are listened to. Also keen to promote regionalism versus centralisation. What's good for Southland may not be good for somebody else. We want that regional flavour. We actually want to be able to shape the future for our own region. I believe we have a good team to be going forward, and I include staff in that as well. And our iwi friends here, it's great. This is probably the first time that you'll actually do the oath, but we're all Southlanders, and actually at heart, we all want the same things. So I look forward to working with you too. At the end of the day, our motto is a sustainable, thriving Southland. So thank you for the faith you've put in. You're right. Oh, you haven't voted. Okay, yeah.
I would carry by acclamation, I thought.
So we've chosen the voting as a council.
Oh,
So we're obliged to vote according to the voting methods. So I now am going to put the matter to the vote to ask you to indicate your vote by raising your hand. All those in favour of the election of Councillor Horrell as chairperson, please raise their hand. It's carried unanimously. Thank you. So I'm pleased to declare Councillor Horrell elected as chairperson, and would the chair please come forward and make and attest the chairperson's declaration.
I, Nicol Horrell, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Southern Region the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as chairperson of the Southern Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act of 2002 and the Local Government Information Act and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act. Thank you.
I'm going to hand over to Chairman.
Thank you, Wilma, and staff report. So it's actually the committee. Okay, the explanation of the rules. Okay.
So this is the last bit that I need to talk at length over. So that's your item number 6.
So you'll see item 6 is the explanation of the laws affecting members. We will read them studiously, so it's really, I don't think it's probably needed for any discussion. It's recommended to resolve to note the report. But there's opportunity for please. Moved by Little, seconded by Jeremy, and Wilma tells me she's obliged to read part of this out. So over to you, Wilma.
That's right. So thank you, Mr. Chair. The Local Government Act requires that as Chief Executive I provide an explanation of the following laws affecting the conduct of Council's business. Those laws are the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, which I'll call from here on, the Local Authority Members' Interests Act 1988, the Crimes Act 1961, sections 99, 105 and 105A, the Secret Commissions Act of 1910, Financial Markets Conduct Act 2013, the Public Records Act 2005, Health and Safety at Work Act 2015. So please bear with me, this may seem somewhat long-winded, but it's important and I'm required to summarise these now. There is more detail in the agenda for you to read. The Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act makes information held by local authorities freely available to the public and limits the reasons councils can use for excluding the public from their meetings. The intent of the Act is that information held by local authorities should be made available to the public unless there's a good reason for withholding it. And Council has provided me with a delegation to deal with Lagoina requests and receive a 6-monthly report on requests that are lodged, including whether or not they have been met or refused. Excluding the public from meetings, the Act provides that all meetings of Council shall be open to the public unless the provisions within the Act apply. To exclude the public from a meeting requires a formal resolution citing the grounds that are relied upon in the legislation for doing so. Urgent business, there is no general business section of Council or committee meetings, so councillors may raise matters of interest. If you have an issue, you should approach either myself or a director or a general manager to see if a matter can be placed on an agenda, or alternatively raise the matter at the meeting as an item of urgent business. For urgent business to be discussed, councillors must formally resolve to discuss the item and the chair must explain why the item was not on the agenda and why it cannot be delayed to a subsequent meeting. If discussion does occur and a resolution is passed, the matter needs to be progressed through a future council agenda if it seeks to commit the council to a course of action or expenditure. Notice of meetings and agenda provisions. The Lagoima prescribes the amount of public notice that is required to be given for formal meetings of council, and when reports are to be made to the public, these same requirements form part of council's standing orders, which you are being asked to adopt later today. The Local Government Act 2002 determines the method of voting for councils, and we have already seen that in action earlier today. It's important to know that every question that council considers must be decided by open voting, and the methods of voting are set out in the Act. The Act provides that unless otherwise prescribed, all acts of local authority shall be done and all questions shall be decided at a meeting by the majority of such members as are present and vote, and voting shall be decided by open voting. The Local Authority Members' Interests Act 1968. This Act's intention is to regulate the actions of local authority members when matters of a pecuniary interest are being considered. It provides that a member of a local authority is not to discuss or vote on any question in which the member of the local authority has a pecuniary interest other than an interest in common with the public. The best advice I'm able to provide around this section is that if there's any doubt at all, you should act as if there is a pecuniary interest, or at least discuss it with the Chief Executive. Be positive and declare before council any interest that may exist in any matter where the opportunity is provided at the council meetings to ensure that it's recorded in the minutes and that you take no further part in deliberations. All councillors have been provided with the declaration of interest forms, which are to be returned to council today. If you have not completed and returned the forms, please do so immediately so that staff are able to assist you in managing any interests that may be present. The Crimes Act, the Secret Commissions Act 1910 and the Financial Markets Conducts Act 2003. All of these acts are relevant to you in your role as councillors, and I encourage you to read the sections as a minimum to familiarise yourselves. The Financial Markets Conducts Act 2003 is particularly relevant given our the council's substantial shareholding in Southport New Zealand Limited. Again, I urge you to familiarise yourselves with these provisions. Staff are here to assist you if you've got questions in these matters. The Public Records Act 2005, this piece of legislation ensures that council is accountable for providing full, accurate and well-maintained records that are accessible. In this regard, the definition of a record includes information, whether it's in its original form or otherwise, and is not limited to just written information. This includes everything on your phones that you send to each other and to us, by the way, just to be clear. Health and Safety at Work 2015. This is a significant piece of legislation that came into effect on the 4th of April 2016 and is addressed not only in the report before you today, but we'll be going into this in some detail during our briefings with you as part of your induction. As elected members, you have a duty of due diligence to ensure that council business understands and manages its key health and safety risks. In this regard, I note that the health and safety matters are regularly reported through to our Organisational Performance and Audit Committee and will be to the committee, the Risk and Assurance Committee, should you make that decision in a later item today. However, I encourage you to familiarise yourself with that information. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. We'll move to item 7, which is the fixing of the first ordinary meeting of council. And as council will see, that also includes the quite a number of meetings in the run-up to that first meeting of council. The first meeting of ordinary council meeting will be the 14th of December. We have a recommendation to dissolve note report, including the list of meetings that have been scheduled for councillors. It's the date and time for the first ordinary meeting on Wednesday, 10:30 a.m. By Morris, seconded by Jeremy. There's no discussion. I'll put the motion. All in favour will say aye. Aye. Right, we will move to item 8, which is the election of a deputy chairman. I will call for nominations.
Mr. Chairman, I'm very happy to nominate Councillor Ludlow for this position, and I do so for several reasons. One is that I think it would be a good step in terms of diversity. Not that I'm suggesting that Councillor Ludlow is a token female. It's far from the case. She's been 6 years on the committee and has shown an aptitude for work, a passion and an interest in both Southland and the environment. And she showed some consummate skills chairing OPAC through a period when we've had one of our more difficult periods of making income meet what was required to be funding. And so I also believe in mandates, so I'm expecting there may well be some other candidates, but it's with my pleasure that I would nominate Councillor Ludlow.
I'll second the motion, Chairman.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Do we have any further nominations?
I'd like to, I'd like to nominate Councillor Jeremy. The reasons for that is I look at it on the basis of succession. I know the effort that he's put in our local East Dome area, and he sees for the future, and it would appear that he's a career councillor. So, that's the reasons for me putting it forward.
Thank you. Second for that nomination. Second by Phil. Are there any further nominations? If there are no further nominations, we will select by lot the speaking order. Is it the And the winner is LL. It's Lyndall Ludlow. Where's that?
Just a point of clarification, Chair. In the past, we've requested that the second speaker leave the room, and they then can't respond to what might be said by the first person. I just think it's a good tradition that we continue with that.
I'm happy to accept that recommendation. But have a second for it, I suppose. Second for the person that leaves the room.
Chairman, if I might, I'm as now first speaker, don't mind at all if Councillor Carstairs.
I'm happy.
And I know we've got two very good applicants, and I know they've been talking to each other, and I know they're quite supportive. And if they have that degree of comfort, if you're happy with that, Eric.
I'm not that happy, but it's going to looks like it's going to turn out that way. I think it's precedent setting, but however, let's do what we're going to do.
Put the cone of silence over it. Not listen. I won't listen. I won't listen.
Okay, Lyndall, would you like to come forward?
Firstly, Eric, thank you. I appreciate the thought of the speaking order. So I'm excited to be starting my third term as one of 6 Inaugural Rakiura representatives. But in my first year as a councillor, I gained the Hearings Commissioner qualification and now have the Chair's endorsement. And Councillor Cook and I are the only ones that now have that. But one of the basic tenets of RM Hearings Commissioner training is that decision makers enter the process with an open mind and without prejudice. And so I ask that you do just that yourselves today and approach this decision with an open mind. I see the role of Deputy Chair as one of supporting the Chairman, but also of supporting committee chairs and our team of councillors in any way I can and to the best of my abilities. I've developed a good relationship with Chairman Horrell. He's asked me to take his place as council's representative locally and nationally on the odd occasion, and we have honest and frank conversations. In my previous term, I was gifted the challenge of chairing the Operational Performance and Audit Committee. And I did my best to allow and encourage members to question, evaluate and contribute their perspectives, but ultimately to make decisions for the best outcomes for the delivery of organisation strategic goals. I also was really chuffed to be able to chair the very first ever climate change subcommittee. And I represent the trust on the council on a number of trusts related to our work. I've participated in as many opportunities outside of my constituency as I possibly can to listen, learn and understand the wider region. I already have working relationships with some elected members and staff of sister councils across the island, particularly our friends in Invercargill City and Southland District. Now, as a true blue Southlander or true maroon Southlander, it's really the first place I went when I wanted to speak to you was the things that I'm not good at. And so I'm going to tell you those. I am not 6 foot something and called Lloyd. I cover off the letter L quite well, but that's it. I am not lazy. I work really hard. I'm not a dictator. I prefer to work as part of a team. I've always preferred team sports and things like performing arts where you have to support each other and have each other's backs. I'm not completely stupid. I know I don't know stuff, and I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning. I'm not afraid to wear a suit, but I own gumboots and they're dirty. I don't have a swan dry though, so I'm going to have to say that. I'm not a solo act for 2 reasons. I work, live and play and am connected to a number of communities across the province. I volunteer across sport, arts and not-for-profits locally and nationally. And most importantly of all, I'm a relationships person. I'm not a traitor. I do have different opinions, but I'm loyal and a parochial Southlander, and I still believe that the Southland Stags are going to rise again. I don't speak fluent Te Reo, but I hope that if there's a next time, I will be able to do my declaration in Te Reo. And above all, I'm not perfect. I generally know my strengths though, and see them as offering balance to those of my peers and enriching Council's leadership team. Some areas of interest in particular, sorry, I won't go on for too much longer. Climate change, region-wide outcomes are really important, integrating internally some systems, and above all, engaging all of our constituents. Risk and assurance, like it or not, we face increasing scrutiny of not only financial risk, but as that applies to delivery of operational outcomes, health and safety, people and reputation. The regional forum, I'm really proud of the leadership that Council showed in undertaking that work. Pretty honoured to have had the opportunity to work with Chairman Horrell, Councillor McPhail and Te Ao Marama representatives right from the get-go. And really impressed by the document that we received and the suite of recommendations relating to our valuable why. Looking forward to some robust debate as we tease out the implications for our people, environment and economy. Youth engagement. I've begun discussions with staff and councillors about finding ways to involve our future Southlanders in shaping their place. Others have youth councils, but I don't think that's actually suitable for us. Councillor Evans, you'll understand the tyranny of distance. And we have a changing number of communities and young people who are digital natives with very different lives and expectations to the ones we are familiar with. I'm really keen for us to seek ways for our futures to be heard and involved. And the New River Estuary, on my front doorstep and pretty grim. It's a complex problem involving multiple stakeholders and interested parties from the top of the catchments to the south and the sea. Seeking multiple solutions and empowering others will be the key. Ultimately, I'm looking forward to being part of a new team as we consider the challenges and opportunities Southlanders have to continue to punch well above our weight through technology, generosity, endeavour and relationships. Ngā mihi nui.
Use a lot of the same words. Kia ora. And thank you for the opportunity to speak for the position for Deputy Chairperson for Environment Southland. I believe I am the right person for this job. This is a natural progression for me and my governance role in this council. I've shown in the last 6 years the commitment I have to this job as a councillor and my work ethic towards this role. To be a councillor is about making yourself available to your community. Proof of this commitment to my community, I believe, has resulted in a strong support for me in the election this year. I've given 100% to this job as a councillor, and I don't intend to ease back anytime soon. In the last 6 years, I've gained a vast amount of knowledge of our province and the challenges we have looking to the future. Climate change, water quality issues are challenges that I'm working with every day within my business, and they are very real to me. My role as chairman of the Regional Services Committee has taken me to every corner of the province, meeting people, talking about the issues and finding solutions as well. I believe I've been able to build up relationships with these leaders in these communities, both urban and rural. That will be very important for me if elected in this role and us as a council in the future. I've been involved in the WIO mediation between the WIO Liaison Committee and the Meridian Energy, and also I've been involved in discussions around the allocation of water regarding the Matara Conservation Order. This has given me an invaluable insight of how some of these discussions in the future with our community may play out when it comes to implementing land change to the Tahi. An example of my leadership while being on the council would be the formation of the Property Working Party. I led this discussion and pursued it because I felt that things needed to be revised and brought up to date regarding our land portfolio. I personally spent a lot of my own time visiting farms, meeting our lessees, and a lot of phone time to get a real strong understanding of the situation. Ultimately, this has now given management a clear understanding of the council's expectations around our farm leases regarding environmental and financial outcomes. Not only has it significantly increased our revenue from this land, but we also have created policy around the leased land surpluses and how we are able to use those funds. This has not been able to be achieved by any other councils in the past. Why is this important? These funds can now be used to fund shovel-ready projects in these catchments. It couldn't have happened at a better time. I believe this was a great example of how governance and management working well together for a beneficial outcome for our community. In regards to our partners and stakeholders, I fully back a governance model we have with iwi. We need to enhance our relationship we have. So as we travel on this journey together, if we do have a few bumps on the road in the future, we are able to pause, resolve the issues, and keep moving ahead. The importance of this relationship to me is seeing me challenge myself with te reo lessons over the last 18 months. Our stakeholders are very important and we need to enhance our relationships there as well, whether it's with DOC, Fish and Game, Dairy NZ, Feds, and Beef Land. We need to create more trust between us all. Ultimately, this job is about supporting the chairperson. I will support the chair 100%. I know the pressures that this job will bring. I'm fully aware of the workload it may also bring, but I have shown in the past I'm not scared of work. I will encourage robust debate in the chamber. But when the debate is over, the votes are counted, the council has a position on an issue, I will support that position. I appreciate the opportunity to speak for this role, and I look forward to working with you all, no matter where the vote ends, up for the next 3 years. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, koutou.
Okay, just checking on that. We'll do this alphabetically by show of hands. just before we have the vote, we've got two very able candidates, and as we're both saying, they will be fully committed no matter where this lands. And so alphabetically, all those voting for Lyndall Ludlow will raise their hand. Those voting for Jerry McPhail will raise their hands. We have 6 each way, and the rules are that it is decided by lot or the toss of the coin. It's something we've never actually struck before, but I think it actually does show the quality of our candidates. Can you come to the front and see who be a short straw and a long straw, and Jan will hold them. And board together.
Which one? Let's be like a long straw is the winner.
Long straw is normally the winner, isn't it?
Might get clear before we start.
Well, I declare that the long straw will win.
Interpretive dance while we're here.
You were there alphabetically again, or discreetly?
No.
You sure?
If you choose to have someone else do it for you. Oh, that's worse. That's fine.
Jeremy got it, but we couldn't see from here. Can you declare the winner?
I will declare that Jeremy File has just been elected as Deputy Chair. Congratulations, but also congratulations to Lyndall, and we've had conversations before. There are two very important roles. But look, you want to say a few words?
Look, I've said my piece, but like on behalf, like Lyndall and I have been talking quite intensely, and both of us going, look, we support each other, whatever way it goes, and to the point, and we didn't actually want to probably contest, it was one of that. So we've got that relationship, we respect each other, and look, and we could have probably done this early in the week, and we would be sweet. But look, no, appreciate the support, and I won't let you down on this position. Cheers.
Right, we'll move to item 9, council and committee structures. What do you want to throw through some of those changes, please?
So thank you, Mr. Chair. Council, this is quite a significant piece of work in item 9, so we need to do a number of things here. This paper proposes the following: that you adopt the existing committee structures that are in this item, with the exception of the Organisational Performance and Audit Committee, which we are proposing that you separate into a Finance and Performance Committee as a principal standing committee, and a Risk and Assurance Committee to be chaired by an independent appointee. You also will be required in this item to appoint members to the committee, including the mana whenua representatives, and then they will make their declarations. You'll elect committee chairs to these committees, with the exception of Risk and Audit. A Risk and Assurance Committee, that's if you make that decision, and appoint the council's chair as an ex officio member to all committees. You'll be asked to authorise and request each of the committees to elect deputy chairs from amongst their members, and that will happen at their committee meetings, if I got that correct. Yeah. And we also, because of the nature of timing for the first Audit and Risk Committee, we suggest that you confirm the reappointment of Bruce Robertson as the independent member of that committee. He has formally resigned and his resignation takes effect from the 1st of December. So you have a committee scheduled prior to that meeting and we need your resolution on that matter to cover that interim meeting. So, Mr. Chair, the first matter is the discussion around the existing committee structure and their terms of reference and their establishment.
Chairman, I'll just leap to the end and say I would move that we adopt all of those recommendations, noting that we've had some discussion in council about the separation of roles in risk and insurance and finance committees, and it's appropriate to separate those into the future.
So we need to do, so just a couple of things, Jan, can I just point out that we've got a numbering issue here, so we might just need to.
We've got 2 twos.
Yeah, we've got 2 twos in here.
What's the problem with us doing the lot?
Can we do the lot and then, but we do need to actually do some things in here, which is actually appoint people. So can we do items 1 and 2 together? Yeah. Okay. So can I suggest that we do items 1 and 2 first?
My advice is we do items 1 and 2.
Representatives before we move on from the recommendations.
You also need to appoint all the members to the committees and also the chairs. So I suggest that you should resolve councillor items 1 and 2 first, which you can do, with an amendment to item 1, wording to item 1, which I would like to have changed to the words establish the existing committee structure and terms of reference with the exception of the Organisational Performance and Audit Committee. So that is covered in item 2. And that you would then adopt item 2 and then we move on to item 3. So councillor might want to change his.
Are you happy to amend your motion to 1 and 2?
I'm trying to get my head around what we just did.
Move item 1 as amended. I'll do that.
Okay, go to 1 at a time.
So do I need to just the clarification to councillor Cox? 2 matters. 1, I would like to amend the recommendation in item 1 to read establish the existing committee structure in terms of reference with the exception of OPAC. Okay. And then that you resolve now just to pass 1 and 2 because we need to move on to 3 as a separate item.
It's the original 2 there, the second.
Yes, the original 2.
Right. Yes, I'm happy to move it that way. I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I will put the motion. All in favour will say aye. Aye. Right, we will now move to the new
item 3.
New item 3, was 2, which is appoint members of its committees, including whenua representatives. So I'm assuming we will, once we'll pass that, we'll do the strategy and policy and then do the declaration. Right. So I need to move in second to the appoint, don't we? So move for all the new item 3, which looked like a second 2. Moved by Jeremy, seconded by Peter. Discussion, I will put the motion. All in favour will say aye. Aye. So at that stage, I think we'll flick over the page and we'll go to the Strategy and Policy Committee. Now, this is going to be a very important committee this time, and I'm suggesting that 4 members of council sit on it. It will have a very heavy workload, and it will be a most important committee this time. And actually, I'm actually happy to move that Lyndall Ludlow.
We do the chair.
Yeah. So I'm moving Lyndall Ludlow for the chairman of that committee. Seconded by Jeremy. Any further nominations? I'm not seeing any. All of those in favour of Lyndall will say aye. Aye. Congratulations, Lyndall. I'm looking forward to you in
Was
that
that the
role.
booby prize, Chairman?
No, actually, we talked about really good roles. This is a very important role. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
so now I will call for nominations. Well, no, we don't. We're on it. So, and we have the iwi representatives on the page, which is Stuart Poole and then Wakefield. So I think we just need to get a motion, all of council and two iwi representatives after that. So ask to iwi reps to come forward and do the declaration. So somebody like to move along those lines? Moved by Morris, seconded by Lyndall. Put the motion, all in favour say aye. Raise your hands. Aye. Okay, I'll hand over to you, Trips.
So do we do the declarations now? And that's the chair sign that. Okay. So Stuart.
I, Stuart Poole, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interest of the Southern region, the powers, authorities, and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Strategy and Policy Committee of the Southern Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, and any other act.
Ko auti nei, ko Anne Wakefield. E whakapua ki atu nei I taku wāti I roto I te pono me te tika e ai ki oku pukinga me oku whakaro. Kia whakatutu ki minga, kia hapaitia hoki e painga mo te rohi o Southern me hiku. Nā mana kainihira me a mahi, e roto tonu I China, rānei ki ronga I a o. E tūnei hei mema o te rautaki, me mahiri o kainihiri a rohi o Southland me hiku. I raro I te maru o te tūri kawanatanga a rohi 2002, me te tūri kawanatanga a rohi mo te pāronga o kawa I ngā hui 1987, I raro rānei I te tahi atu tūri.
Right, we'll move to the Regional Services Committee, and I will call for nominations for a chairperson for the Regional Services Committee.
Chairman, I'd like to nominate Councillor Peter McDonald.
I'll be happy to second that nomination, Chairman.
Nomination moved and seconded for Peter McDonald. Any further nominations? I'm not seeing any. We still better do the formal thing of having a vote. All those in favour of Peter McDonald being the chair, so say aye and raise your hands. Congratulations. Okay, we will now call for nominations for members of that committee.
Mr. Chairman, do we be nominated or we just volunteer?
I think formally we do have to. As you know, Morris, anybody can come along, but we would probably need to do this formally. And well, the last one was all of council. This time we do need nominations.
Councillors can nominate themselves.
And councillors can nominate themselves.
John, I'd like to nominate Councillor Rodway.
It would be helpful, Chairman, if particularly the new councils would give an indication of their interest in particular committees.
Right, now we had a number of people that had shown interest. But the easiest way probably is at this stage, it is quite legal for people to nominate themselves and they can be seconded. I don't want to
nominate myself for that. I haven't got a seconder for Morris.
I will second that.
All right, good.
I'll second Paul.
Morris, Paul. Lyndall.
Second Lyndall.
Second.
Self-nominate.
Eric. Seconded by Morris. John. Happy second. Right. I'm not nominating Jeremy. I think you should be on this committee. Second for Jeremy. Yep. Place. We'll take John. Any further before we get to Manafana?
Second with the chairman. I'll second with the chair.
And I'm ex officio on all these committees anyway. So. No further bids. We will now move to.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Can I ask Alistair Gibson whether he wants to go?
I think in our previous thing, I went for regulatory committee and also risk and insurance, I think. And I don't know, the workload might be enough because they recommended us initially 2 committees, but it's 3 when we end up in the strategy and policy committee. So, we've got to be a bit careful.
No, I think that's wise. There's a learning curve and the opportunity, and there's always the opportunity to sit in that speaking rights. But right, so Manafana representatives are Gail Thompson and Stella Lesk.
I'll nominate them.
So they're nominated and seconded by Jeremy. Right, everybody's now moved and seconded. So I will put, would somebody like to move the motion that all those that have been moved?
I'll move, Chairman, that all those nominations be
Form the committee.
Committee on Regional Services.
By Neville, seconded by Jeremy. After the discussion, I will put the motion. All in favour will say aye and raise your hands. All done. So at this stage, we'll ask Gail to come forward.
Kia ora. I, Gail Thompson, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Southern region the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Regional Services Committee of Southern Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora.
Stella.
Kia ora koutou. I, Estelle Lesk, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Southland region the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Strategy and Policy Committee of the Southland Regional Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 and any other act. Kia ora.
Okay, you.
No.
Right, we'll now move to the regulatory committee, and I will call for nominations. For chair. Nominated by Peter, seconded by Lyndall. Any further nominations? I'm not seeing any. So I'll put the motion that Neville Cook be the chair of the regulatory committee. Everyone say aye and raise their hand. Aye. Right, we will now elect some members to that committee.
I need some committee members.
Councillor Hurrell, I would like to nominate myself. This is a good process.
That's good, Alistair. Alistair, seconded by Peter.
Also like to nominate myself.
Peter, seconder, Jeremy.
I'll second Robert.
Right, so we've got Robert, self seconded by Paul.
Nominate myself.
Jeremy nominated himself, seconded by Peter. Morris. I'll second the nomination. Any further advances?
Robert.
Yeah, Robert. Right, would somebody like to move the
nominations be accepted?
by Neville, seconded by Alistair. No further discussion, I will put the motion. All in favour will say aye and raise their hand. Aye. Right, we'll move to the Organisational Performance and Audit Committee. Now, the clarification here, we're not doing that. So we're not putting anybody into caretaker. Okay. Right, on form, we don't need to do the OPEC one because it's going to be in the chair. So we'll move to the Finance and
We're just not doing OPEC, we're doing finance.
oh, no, the split into two. Sorry. Clarification, you can cross out the OPEC one at the top of the page, but the split is the two below it. So I'll call for nominations for the chair of the Finance and Performance Committee.
Happy to move Councillor Rodway.
Second that.
Moved and seconded, Eric and Jeremy. Any further nominations for chair? Not seeing any. So put the motion that Councillor Rodway become the chair of the Finance and Performance Committee. Everyone will say aye and raise their hands. Aye. Congratulations, Morris. We'll now call for committee members for that committee. We've got Phil, seconded by Jeremy.
Are you going to nominate yourself?
Yep, you are. Yep. It's a bit easy with other people expressing an interest. It's quite legal, so that's fine. We've done it in the other committees. So we need a few more there. Lyndall, happy to second Lyndall's nomination.
Yeah. Shrinking border.
Jeremy, seconded by Jeremy.
John Pemberton.
I'll second you.
Seconded by Lyndall. John Pemberton.
I moved.
You moved. No. I'll second. Any further advances? If there are no further nominations, would somebody like to move that those people be the committee? Moved by Lyndall, seconded by Neville. All in favour will say aye and raise their hands. Aye. Right, we move to the Risk and Assurance Committee.
Just a point of clarification, Chair, the resignation by Bruce Robertson, that was a formality. He wasn't severing his association with us, was he?
He is prepared to sit in until the end of the year and will probably actually assist us in finding an independent. So his resignation is from the end of this calendar year. So we will still pick his brain, I might say, going forward.
Right.
So this next committee, we probably want a wee bit of continuity with the last one. And we probably want somebody sitting in the chair to nominate. Right, Jeremy is nominated. Ludlow.
Mr. Chair.
Seconded by Peter. Right, any further nominations? It's only a temporary role. I will put the motion. All in favour will say aye and raise their hands. Aye. Okay, now we'll call for members for that committee.
Yeah, I'll nominate myself.
Alistair, seconded by Jeremy.
Myself.
Jeremy, happy to second.
Paul Morrison.
Paul Morrison. We've got seconders for.
It's a follow-up.
We've got John Bell. Yeah. All right.
Councillor Pemberton.
Moved and I'll second. Just been the query, Lyndall, I assume, even though if an independent takes over, you probably still want to be on this committee. Do we have to nominate you twice? Just to be on the safe side, I'll nominate Lyndall for the committee as well. Second for that, Jeremy. Now, you were indicating before too. Are you nominating yourself? Morris Rodway nominating seconded by Alan. Oh God, sorry. Paul. Further nominations? It's really about not.
So there's still what we just need to do our recommendations.
Right, would somebody like to move that those nominations?
Chairman, those nominations be approved.
Move seconder for that. Jeremy. Any discussion? If not, I will put the motion. Would everybody raise their hand and say aye? Aye.
We just done items 3 and 4.
So I don't need to go back to the recommendations now on. Four is putting the 5 and 6.
Then we do 5, 6 and 7.
All right, the amended numbers. I think we can do 5, 6, and 7 now all at once.
Well, try again. Right. 5, 6, and 7 as they stand.
By Neville, seconded for that. Morris, any discussion? I'll put the motion. All in favour will say aye and raise their hands. Aye. Item 10. Move to item 10, which is the appointment of other committees, cooperative members, and appointments to board cooperative bodies. Yes, that's fine. Appointment of trustees represent, the first one is the Southland Heritage and Inaugural Preservation Trust. Councillor Adelaide moved and seconded. Any further advances? If not, I will put the motion that Lyndall is the representative on that. People say aye, raise their hands. The second is the Whakamana Te Waituna Charitable Trust. I'm currently a trustee. Need one more.
Councillor Pemberton's area, isn't it? What was the decision on that?
Some discussion as whether it should be regional services or whether it should be the local one. It's yeah, I'm up to sometimes when you've got other issues going on, it may muddy the waters, but I'll be guided by the floor actually on this one. So there will be a nomination for me and one nomination for another councillor. And I guess my recommendation is it would either be the local member or the chair of regional services.
Can I move that it be the chair of regional services? I think there are a few contentious issues running around there that it's just to have someone outside the area with an oversight might just lend itself to a better decision-making process. It just takes perception out of it. Not saying there's anything wrong with Councillor Pemberton, but I just think there's a degree of independence when we do it that way.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah. You're seconding.
Moved seconded that the chair of regional services, Ben McDonald, one trustee, and we better have somebody move me.
Yeah.
Moved and seconded, Eric and Morris. Any further nominations?
Just to clarify, is it the chair of the regional services or is it Peter McCay? Like,
It's a name. It will
is it
be
a
to
name,
be
the
a
role?
named person.
It's a
so-
name.
A name
Yes.
person,
So it will be. Yeah.
Covered, I think. I'll put those recommendations. All in favour will say aye and raise their hand. Aye. And moving that, we are directing staff to take whatever action required to formalise those appointments. Next one up is the Chief Executive's Review Committee. This has traditionally been the chair, the deputy, and the chairs of the various committees, and sometimes we'll make one other. We haven't done transport, which was one of those last time, but just to give you, well, actually, I'll test the waters by moving that the chair, the deputy, and the chairs of those statutory committees, including transport, form the transport, the CEO's review committee. Second, any further discussion? I will put the motion. All in favour will say aye and raise their hands. Aye. So now we move to the Regional Transport Committee. Appoint two councillors who will be the chair and deputy chair of that committee. I'm happy to move Jeremy McPhail to chair that committee.
I'll second. He's been on that, he's had a role there before, so he knows what he's in for.
Thanks, Eric.
Still wants to go back.
Share the love, Jeremy.
You could join me.
Yeah, it was the highlight of my life.
I'm not seeing any other nominations for the chair, so we'll now call for nominations for a deputy chair for the Regional Transport Committee.
Right. Phil Morrison.
A nomination for Phil Morrison.
Second
Seconded by Peter. Any further nominations? I will put the motion that for Jeremy as chair and Phil as deputy of the Transport Committee. All in favour will say aye and raise their hand. Aye. see where the recommendations then we don't want them to, I guess, but we need to staff will do that, seek nominations for appointed representatives.
So we're appointing the current appointments.
Right, and they will volunteer.
But then they will have a further resolution once they've told us who the representatives are.
Okay. So you don't need to do anything more there?
No, we need to move that these other representatives will come from those councils.
Well, would somebody like to move recommendation 3, which is seeking the appointed representatives from the ICC, SDC, DOR, and Wakawa Kotahi. Did I see a mover when I had my head down? Move Jeremy, seconded Lyndall. For the discussion, I will put that resolution, recommendation, all in favour will say aye. Aye. Right, we'll move to the Southport Subcommittee. Now we need to resolve to appoint, we do the councillors first, then elect the chair, or
I can do it in either order.
right. It give me great pleasure to actually nominate Eric Roy to be the chair of that committee. Any further nominations for chair?
Don't hold back.
There being none, I put the motion that Eric Roy be elected as chair of the Southport Subcommittee. All in favour will say aye and raise the hand. Aye. We'll now look for councillors, appoint councillors to the Southport Subcommittee. Nominations for Morris. Seconded. Jeremy. Seconded for Jeremy. I'll second Jeremy.
And
I'll second.
So Lyndall moved and seconded.
Five's good. Five's a good
I'll
number.
be ex officio, but we probably we could do with another one. It's quite interesting. Who is?
Alistair.
Okay,
No,
Alistair.
he'll nominate me, so I will.
So Alistair's moved and was seconded.
Yeah, I'll second.
No further nominations. Right, I will put the motion that those councillors form the Southport Subcommittee. All in favour will say aye and raise their hands. Aye. Right, we move to the Organisational Performance and Audit Subcommittee for Infrastructure Projects. So this is really a subcommittee of the one we've already put in, but it would be quite good to have a wee bit of continuity with the finance and the finance and risk and the.
Do you know who needs, just remind us who's been nominated for that?
Right.
So the title of that subcommittee is not correct. Yeah, it needs to be changed. So it will need to be.
So I'm assuming that Phil, Lyndall, Jeremy.
The risk and assurance.
It is the risk and assurance subcommittee.
So it's the risk and assurance subcommittee. It would be Alistair Gibson, Jeremy McPhail, Phil Morrison, John Pemberton, Lyndall Ludlow, and Morris Ridley.
You there?
No,
You've forgotten me.
You were the first name out.
I'm sorry.
For continuity, can I recommend that those nominees actually be on the yet to be correctly named subcommittee?
Can I just make a comment? Yeah. So councillors, this subcommittee was a subcommittee with all the members of the organisational performance committee in it. It just had a different quorum requirement. So I would suggest that we need to move that all of the members of the risk and assurance subcommittee are the members of the risk and assurance committee need to be members of this risk and assurance subcommittee.
That's what I was suggesting.
I'm saying is
That would carry forward the last resolution.
and those are the same names. Yeah, all good.
Do you need a motion to that? The members of the Risk and Insurance Committee now form the organisation.
Thank you.
So accept your movement, seconded by Jeremy. Any further discussion? We're all clear. I'll put the motion. All in favour will say aye and raise their hands. Aye. Which is next. Right, we'll move to the climate change subcommittee.
Just point of clarification, just we're just putting members, the subcommittees, the chair gets organised. First committee. Are we organising? Just a question I asked.
Subcommittees, are they normally done at the, can often be done like the others?
Oh, it's just a question.
So we should actually probably just do the committee, I think. And I think we'll include Manifesto representative as well. Okay. Yeah, let's do it that way. Let's call for nominations for the subcommittee.
I second that.
So Robert Guidens, moved and seconded.
Thank you.
Michael, second.
Councillor McDonald.
Second that, but I'll nominate. I second Peters.
So you've seconded Peters.
I'll nominate Phil, Councillor Morrison.
I'll second that.
I'll nominate me.
So we get a second for Phil Morrison.
I'll second Phil, nominate.
Okay, right. Okay. Good.
I'll second there.
So you were seconding Eric. And
I'll second him.
And I think Robert might have been your club, so I think you were seconding Morris. Okay. Right. Right.
I nominate me.
I'll second that. So let's do it.
I move those nominations be accepted, Chairman.
Motion, those nominations will be accepted. Second of that motion, John. Motion that those people form the committee, and all the people will say aye and raise their hand. Aye.
Aye.
Right, we'll move to 6, which is the civil defence emergency management representation. Yeah.
Nominate Councillor Cook. Could you nominate? That's the plan. Change
Okay,
construction.
happy to second that. And well, actually, I'll nominate myself to be the alternate. So,
Second.
is there any further nominations? If not, I will put. Actually, I'll get somebody to move that those nominations be the committee. So Peter, seconded by Jeremy. So all in favour will say aye and raise your hands. Aye.
Need to move the recommendations on that one, Chairman.
That's the bottom. Let's see what. So Neville, you're moving 1 to 4 of the recommendations at the bottom of the page, and the next.
1, 2, 3. So 1 and 4.
1 and 4. Is to establish a joint committee, and 4 is to delegate to those councillors the necessary authorities to act as representatives.
I'll move those 2 recommendations.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I will put the motion. All in favour will say aye. Raise your hands. Aye. Right. The next is appointment to other bodies. This one up is to Patayo. Recommendations to form a joint committee of each of the councils in South and under clause 31B, schedule 7 of the Local Government Act 2002, to retire with the terms of reference as set out in the memorandum of understanding previously agreed. To appoint the chairman, and if there's a wish to appoint another representative as officer to retire. The chair is normally the nomination for that. So, you're nominating me. Second for that. By Morris.
I nominate Councillor Guyton as a representative.
Moved and seconded. I think last time we actually had two down there, so
I'm happy to.
I'll second Morris. So we've got myself, Robert, and Morris. Further nominations. Somebody like to move that they be our representatives on Trupatayo. Moved by Lyndall, seconded by Paul. All in favour will say aye and raise their hands. Aye. Right, we move to the regional secretary. The recommendation is that the council be resolved to appoint the chairman of council as the council's representative.
I'll move the recommendation, Chairman.
Moved by Neville. Second for that nomination, Jeremy. The discussion, I will put the motion. All in favour will say aye and raise their hands. Aye. Right, we will move to the Waiau River Working Party. Recommended council will resolve to appoint councillors, so I think it's 2 members to the Waiau Working Party.
I'll note Councillor McDonald.
Councillor McDonald, seconding, or you like to?
I'd like to nominate myself as well. Beat me to it.
I second Paul.
I second Peter.
We have 2 nominations, moved and seconded. I understand, Morris, you're on as an.
You think I'm the chairman of the Waiau Working Party at the moment, but not as a council representative, obviously. So I'm happy to have 2 other councillors there.
All good, unless there's any further nominations. I'll move those 2 nominees be representatives on the committee. Second for that nomination, that recommendation. Jeremy, I'll put the motion. All in favour will say aye and raise their hands. Aye. Right, we will move to the Bluff Maritime Museum Trust Board. And I'll call for a nomination or a volunteer for.
I have been on it for the last couple of terms.
I nominate councillor.
I second it.
The enthusiastic response, I suspect there's not going to be too many other nominees. So I'll move that Councillor Cook be a representative. Second of that, Morris. I'll put the motion. All in favour will say aye and raise your hands. Aye. The Southland Community Broadcasters Charitable Trust. Do we have any interest or nominee for that particular trust?
I nominate that. No. Yeah, that should be.
As charming as that would be, there would be a considerable conflict for me to do that. So, although I'll be one less meeting I have to go to possibly. So I would thank you, but no, I can't.
I will offer to do it as chairman if no one else wants. I have been on the way and used past. I will second that.
Neville moved and seconded by Paul. There's not going to be a rush of other people for that job, so I'll put motion that Neville be our representative on that committee. If you have a second of that, it's John. All in favour will say aye and raise your hands.
Aye.
Right, the next is Great South. It's recommended the council note that the chairman of council will be its representative Moved by Neville, seconded by Lyndall. Usually straightforward that one. Let's put that motion. All in favour, say aye. Aye. The Property Working Party, it's recommended the council note to report and formally disestablish the Property Working Party, but we will need a recommendation for that. And we've had discussions that we probably need to have an informal meeting to make sure that any outstanding matters are taken forward to probably the Regional Services Committee and or finance and the finance service. We'll probably do need a formal, we need a recommendation because we know the report and formally disestablished. Moved by Jeremy, seconded by Neville. Any further discussion? I will put the recommendation on the table, say aye, and raise their hands. Right, item 11 is the adoption of standing orders.
Having to move, very good bedtime reading, Mr. Chairman.
There's no pictures.
I'll see.
Moved by Eric, seconded by Neville. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, there's a slight typo.
Oh my gosh. We missed you, Morris.
Yeah.
It's on page 4 of the page 39 of the meeting agenda. 8.8, it's got 24 beside it, should be just meetings not invalid, rather than having the 24 there, it's just minor. As
Backspace.
Very good spotting, Neville. I'm sure that
Put that in there to see if you notice.
the movers and seconds will be happy to have that amended. I'll put the motion. All in favour, say aye, and raise their hands. Aye. Item 12 is councillors' remuneration. Discussion earlier with the CEO, who said yes, we can do it now, but it's a new council and one or two changes. I recommend we actually defer that until the first meeting, or until we were able to have a workshop at least.
We need a motion to do that. I'm happy to move that this item be deferred to a further occasion.
Thank you. Move seconded by Robert Guyton. Any discussion? With no discussion, I will put that recommendation. All in favour, say aye and raise their hands. And last but not the least, but at the stage of the day, I'll point out that it is really just for noting is item 13 is the annual report summary, which we do need to approve before we can.
I'll move that we approve the summary.
No, just noting it.
It's just a requirement to note because we brought this to the council table and said that we will bring it back for your noting and we would like to publish it, and so we require you to note it in order to do that.
We approve it before we publish.
This doesn't require your approval.
And it's not up for re-litigation.
It doesn't, and sadly we agreed that you would note it, and so therefore we have to ask you to note it.
Okay.
So you're happy to move the note?
I'll move, Chairman, that we
Second for that. Lyndall. Further discussion. If we might, before we do that, it looks like Rachel may be able to.
Through you, Chair, just to note that whilst the summary is as a public-facing document, we had a look at it as staff and felt perhaps didn't tell all the stories in a way that would be accessible to the general public. So on the website, you might be interested in having a look. We have some stories that are designed to help bring the annual report to life. So across the highlights of the year, such as the regional forum advice, etc. So we'd just direct everyone to have a wee look at the website at some stage with those stories. Thank you.
So we move the second that resolution. We put it. All in favour, say aye and raise their hands. Aye. I believe that will bring us to the conclusion of the inaugural meeting. I know it's quite a formal process, but I think we've got a really good council sitting here, and I look forward to working with you all and taking up the many challenges we have. And first time we've actually had a Manavana representatives doing the oath. So it's quite a special occasion. So we'll just close with the Karakir. Kaito ki ai toto katoa, te awawhai, uto katoa, ara e Kiroki. I'm not getting this quite right, but Nei tai araho, Lorti Attila. Nei tai fofo mai tahi tonga. Kitai wai rua tapu. Aki. Amen. Sure, thanks for all your contributions. And I think we might be able to have a cup of tea and relax a little bit now. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.